Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to an episode of the No Name Podcast. It is your boy, Young Rich, back again with another episode. Here we are today. We are in a different setup. For those of you watching on YouTube, we are in a different setup today. I have a different background. I'm not the typical office setup, but I'm currently house sitting for my sister and watching her cats as well. So here I am busting out content in her living room, but I still got to get it done wherever it's at, so the background may not be ideal, but we're here, we're busting out content, we're staying on that grind, road to 5K, we got to continue to get better from here and continue to grow, so, we got to do it with what we got, and here's where I am, and today's going to be a good one. With that being said, I just want to appreciate everyone who's been supporting me as always. It's been a blessing to see people support my stuff. The last video did pretty solid, around 850 views. Again, if I'm averaging 850 views for the next couple videos, that's going to be absolutely insane, especially from where I started. So I appreciate everyone supporting, who's liking, following me on Twitter, commenting below, because, I'll answer every single comment at this point right now, because there are a limited amount of them, right? But again, continuing to grow, and I couldn't be happier right now. But first things first, obviously it's a little bit old, but we got to talk about it, is the Los Angeles Lakers. My Los Angeles Lakers unfortunately lost in 5 against the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets will advance to play Minnesota in the next round. We will discuss those matchups later in the episode. But I mean, listen, as a Lakers fan, obviously it hurts, because there was a lot of, listen, Jamal Murray, 2-game winners. You blew a 20-point lead, Even if Jamal Murray misses one of those game winners, you take one to OT and still won. You don't blow that 20-point lead, That's 2 wins right there. You could be looking at a 2-3 series, going to 6. It could really be either way. But obviously we can't sit here and think about the what ifs, because Jamal Murray did those things. We blew a 20-point lead. We were unable to close out games, right? So as a Lakers fan, I'm looking at this like, what should I take from this? I'm sitting here because obviously the Denver owns LA. None of us like that. I see Twitter feeds. I see all the Lakers fan pages. Everyone's out here, we're coming for Darvin Ham's neck. And, everyone, it's kind of chaos right now, right? And that was a bunch of discussions about the offseason, about who to move, who should stay, and things like that. But I just want to give first things first, I want to give a big shout out to AD. Anthony Davis came to perform this entire series. A guy who even I'm guilty of doing, is criticizing him for sometimes looking soft, sometimes not showing up to playing the big games. Last year it was every other game he would perform on offense, right? Defensively, he's always there, but every other game he performed on offense. We needed him to be our number one best player on offense and on defense. It's in the game, on our side of the ball. And he was, for the second time as a Laker, he was the best player on the court, maybe third if you want to consider the after we won in the bubble and that first series against Phoenix before he got hurt. But either way, another run where he just looked, another playoff appearance. I'll put it that way, because obviously he didn't make a run, but another playoff appearance where Anthony Davis looked absolutely dominant. He's been receiving a lot of criticism. People want to see him be the number one guy that we know he's capable of, right? He's a top 3 center at worst, which is crazy to say, because also the fact that we criticize him so much for not dominating on offense like we would want to see him do, right? And he's dominated this entire series. He was there. He was doing his job defensively. He was holding Nikola Jokic, doing the best possible job you could do against Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball. You're not going to stop Nikola Jokic, okay? He's just that type of guy, but you can slow him down, and AD did slow him down. There was times where he'd get off to a hot start, and then he'd slow him down, not let him do these crazy things, and when you're looking at it from AD's perspective, you dominated on the offensive side of the ball. You were our number one player. You answered the call when we needed it most. We needed someone to help carry. LeBron wasn't playing at a, LeBron type level, but AD was able to keep us afloat and keep us in these games single-handedly, and then with the inconsistent role players and performances that we were getting, AD was holding it down, was dominating on offense, attacking Nikola Jokic on the offensive end, harassing him on the defense end, making him earn everything. And I couldn't be happier, to see AD play like that. And and the direction that we're going in, with him now looking like he's going to be the number one option on our team going forward after this type of playoff series, So I couldn't be happier for AD. I'm happy that he answered the call. He answered the critics. He put a lot of that stuff to bed this week, this series. But a couple things I want to talk about from this series, right? Because as a Lakers fan going into this series, there were a couple things that you really had to dwell on and think about from our last time we played him in the Western Conference Finals, right? Which was Jamal Murray being a historic performance run in the WCF last year, right? I mean, historic numbers, historic efficiency. The dude had the best series of his life. And, when a guy has a series like that, there's little you can do, when he's making tough shot after tough shot. But this series, shout out to Austin Reeves, who was guarding him a lot of the time. He was doing a very good job. Making them uncomfortable, making them take tough shots, and that's exactly what he did. Obviously, he had the 2-game winners, so you have to, give him that. But other than that, it's not like he was terrorizing us. We got a decent Jamal Murray. We got a solid Jamal Murray. We didn't get historic WCF 32 points per game Jamal Murray, which is what all you could ask for. You've got to stop. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, they were talking about, you have to stop Jamal Murray. It seems to be, Nikola Jokic. You can let Nikola Jokic beat you, but you can't let Jamal Murray beat you, So, and I've seen that a lot, and I do think it reigns true, because if you look at these games, Jamal Murray struggled for a majority of the game. Fourth quarter comes around, he starts hitting some key buckets, but, he didn't terrorize us. He wasn't phenomenal and it was just like that, We were in these games, okay? We had Jamal Murray playing at a okay Jamal Murray level. We had Nikola Jokic doing Nikola Jokic-like things, but AD, again, answering on offense, doing his best to harass him on defense. MPJ had a couple takeover moments, runs, hitting big-time threes. And Denver, they were the worst three-point percentage team in the playoffs in the first round, which is, again, something we just got to take advantage of. LeBron wasn't playing outstanding. He had a great game for us, so we're not getting swept. He wasn't playing amazing, but at the end of the day, he's 40 years old, 39 years old, whatever it is. He's old. He doesn't need to be the one carrying us to these victories, and AD was trying his damn best to do so. So, again, you look back at this series, we just had a lot of missed opportunities, right? And, it hurts. It hurts because we were winning everyone's seen this statistic. It was on Twitter. We were leading for majority of all those games, that entire series, even in game 5, we just lost. We were winning a big chunk of that game, And then they just made a run at the right time. Jamal Murray hit a game-winning shot, It just sucks, man. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. We definitely could have used some role player help. Austin Reeves didn't have a very good series, but again, I expect him to bounce back. He's a young player. He showed you what he's capable of last year. Again, and he said in the press conference that needs to be better. He holds himself to a high standard. He needs to be better, right? So I'm excited going forward next year. There's some trade markets. Donovan Mitchell, you've heard talk about. Trae Young, Paul George will be a free agent, so there's names floating around who would be ideal for us. I'm not sure. I've heard a lot of people say that Trae Young, AD pick and roll could be scary, which I think it could as well. But do I trust Trae Young on the defensive side of things? Do I want to take that type of player who's all offense, no defense? I don't know if I'd feel that way. But, if Cleveland can have a top 8, top 5 defense in basketball with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, I think there's a way to do it. You just got to build the pieces around them to do that, right? And having AD on the defensive side of things is a lot better than having Clint Capella on the defensive side of things in Atlanta, right? So there are some things to look forward to, some things to keep an eye on, watch how these series play out. But obviously, listen, now you're sitting here. The only reason I don't really want to get Trae Young is because every Trae Young trade scenario I've heard is Austin Reeves getting shipped off with Ruby and some picks, and I just don't like that deal. I think Austin Reeves is a high-quality role player that just needs to stay in LA, and I don't want to give him up for Trae. I know how great Trae is, but I don't want to give him up for Trae. I don't want to sell our quality pieces that we have right now for Trae Young, right? And obviously, I know that's the price of Trae Young, but again, I would not like to see Austin Reeves leave. I would rather watch Austin Reeves be a Laker for life or for a very, very long time. So, and then you start to think about the LeBron James future, right? Obviously, you've heard a lot about his son coming into the NBA, him teaming up with his son. Where would he want to go? And you've heard some ideal places, maybe LeBron ends up in Philly. Maybe LeBron ends up playing in Golden State or with Steph Curry. There's all these different things going around with LeBron James' name. But he is expected to sign another 2 to 3 year extension. I'm assuming it's going to be a 2+1 and a player option type deal. Because that is 3 years locked in. It'll be 42, 43 by the end of that contract if he plays through all 3 years. So definitely some things to keep an eye on. Obviously, the Lakers are open to getting Bronny James to make LeBron James stay. So, there's definitely a lot of things to go on. And then you have D'Lo. What do we do with D'Lo? And I've heard this roam around everywhere is like, D'Lo to Orlando. A team like Orlando who needs a PG. Needs a guy who can help you get it in the regular season, and in the playoffs come around, he could be your third, fourth best scorer. So that's definitely someone who can that's a good landing spot for D'Lo. Because D'Lo didn't play phenomenal. He had one game 2, where he came out and shot great. 2 games where he was 1 for 14 combined. Game 4 that it wasn't great. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to with the whole Denver Nuggets have our number situation, but it is what it is. And we continue to move on. We continue to build. Lakers fans, sucks, but the playoffs are definitely a lot less stressful now that I don't have to worry about my Lakers winning or losing every other night. But the next series I got to talk about, the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks were up 3-1. Now they're still up 3-2. I mean, listen, Tyrese Maxey and Tyrese Maxey last night was absolutely phenomenal, right? This guy came out to perform 46 points last night. But listen, the way the New York Knicks broke down last night was absolutely just terrible. I mean, there's no way, they stole the game from I heard this the other day, they stole game 2 from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia stole game 5 last night. So that's just how it goes sometimes. That's just how the ball rolls down the court. But I mean, listen, Tyrese Maxey gets a 4-point play, comes back down. Josh Hart misses a free throw. They're down 3. Tyrese Maxey from the damn near the logo 4 to send it to OT, And one of the biggest things I want to talk about is really Joel Embiid. Because Joel Embiid, as soon as Tyrese Maxey hit that shot to send it to OT, everyone's hyped. He's hyped. The team's turned up. And Joel Embiid is just no emotion. He doesn't look happy to be there. He doesn't look happy to be in that moment, And I don't know if it's because they're down 3-1. There's a lot of work to do, but when you're in a situation like that, you need the energy. You need your team to pick up around you. You need an energizer. You need a guy who's going to bring the energy. Get the energy rolling through your team to help, because obviously you have a big task ahead, right? And it just looked like Joel Embiid was not happy, and I would be happy. A guy who is about to win a second MVP, possibly. He won. Was having averaging 35 points through the first couple months of basketball. They're one of the best teams in basketball. But Joel Embiid last night, 7 for 19, 16, and 10 last night, 4 blocks, 9 turnovers. He's not been playing very well. His fourth quarter numbers are absolutely atrocious. He's shooting 17% from the field in the fourth quarter, and I think 13% from 3 in the fourth quarter. He's not been playing very good in the fourth quarter. And I said this. I went on Twitter. I tweeted about it. Tyrese Maxey is your 1. Joel Embiid is the 2. Like, that's how it's been playing out. And everybody can say whatever they want about Joel Embiid putting up his numbers when it matters. In the first couple games, he was having his moments. He was putting up 30 points the first 3 games, I believe. But, when that fourth quarter comes around, he's not there. He's not being aggressive. He does not look like the Joel Embiid the first 3 quarters of basketball, And when you're playing a team like the New York Knicks, a scrappy team who's going to get in there defensively, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, these guys play hard-nosed basketball, and when you're playing a team like that, you've got to come out here and compete. You've got to keep your pedal on. You got to keep your foot on the pedal, and you got to continue to be aggressive on offense. And Joel Embiid, it does not look the same in the fourth quarter. And I know it's been his entire series. Everyone wants to say he's been injured, so it makes a little bit of an excuse for him, but there's none at the end of the day. I'm seeing a lot of guys play through injuries, and they're still able to perform. So it makes you no different, right? But again, Jalen Brunson, after struggling for the first 2 games, Jalen Brunson has finally got it going. So I'm happy to see that for him. Yeah, Josh Hart's been playing great basketball. OG Anunoby's been playing great basketball. Mitchell Robinson's been coming off the bench. So now you have your second big that can go out there and do your thing against Joel Embiid. So yeah, this New York Knicks team looks good, looks solid. Again, I'm not expecting this team to go out here and lose, right? I'm expecting them to close it tonight or tomorrow when they play. They will be playing in New York for Game 6. I will expect them to close it out in 6 because they know they should have had this one last night. But yeah, if Jalen Brunson has another game like he did last night, 40-point performance, they're going to be just fine. I mean, Tyrese Maxey had to come out of nowhere to absolutely, pull this one out. But again, yeah, things get interesting from here on going forward. And then OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder, the youngest team to ever sweep in the first round of the playoffs as the 1 seed. I mean, it's absolutely insane what this team is able to do. I mean, New Orleans Pelicans had one of the worst offensive ratings in the playoffs in the first round. Obviously a lot of that has to do with the fact they didn't have Zion Williamson. But, I mean, listen, this team, they had some players, CJ McCollum, Herbert Jones, Trey Murphy, Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram had one of the worst performances of his young career in the playoffs, 34.5% from the field, 25% from 3, 14 points. I mean, it was just a very, very bad player this year, right? BI did not show up to perform. And now you start to question, now you start to wonder, because you've heard this before, BI's not performing. Zion, you're having health issues with Zion, People even discussed him possibly getting traded. Now Zion's playing like Zion Williamson should be playing. And so now you got to build a team around him, right? Now you got to find pieces who are going to be there and show up. And now BI has been struggling, this year specifically. I don't know if it's the injury. I don't know what. But him and Zion clearly do not mesh well if you watch their games. I mean, it's just not BI's game. BI's a very ball-dominant guy, right? Mid-range magician. You've seen that before. He's definitely capable of scoring and being a good option on a good team. But I just don't think this meshing with him and Zion is a good pair, a good good pair. I don't know what I was looking for. But, so there's definitely some things to look forward to going forward. Obviously, you got a lot. You're a very young team as well for New Orleans. You got some great defensive lengthy pieces in Trey Murphy and then Herbert Jones. I mean, even Najee Marshall was shooting 40% from 3 in this series. So there's definitely some questions you have to answer this upcoming offseason. But one of the things I do want to know about OKC again was they got out rebounded on the offensive glass, defensive glass, and total rebounds. Obviously, because offensive plus defense equals total, but they were out rebounded on every aspect of rebounding this entire series versus this New Orleans Pelicans team. And I get it. The Pelicans, a solid defensive team, lengthy, long guys who can rebound, Chet, again, he's a floor spacer. He's going to go out there and shoot. So he's going to pull somebody out there to go pick him up in the corner or wherever he's sitting. But this team getting out-rebounded. It was a question of the regular season, Can they win without a true big who's going to get in there, get boards, and allow you just to close out possessions, Because this Pelican team, there was a couple times where this game was close because they were getting a lot of rebounds. Chet, again, I think he can rebound. He's not like a Wemby-type rebounder, for his frame. He definitely needs to build into his frame in the future. But he's definitely capable of rebounding. He can definitely play defense. Obviously, it's a huge question mark going forward because, if you're getting out-rebounded by Jonas Valanciunas, you're about to go play, obviously you're about to play Dallas or the Clippers, so you're not worried about Zubac or any of those guys. But, let's just say hypothetically you meet up with Nikola Jokic or Rudy Gobert, that is going to be dominant in glass. So it's definitely something you have to keep an eye on if you're an OKC fan. But again, this OKC team is just overachieved. They sped up their timeline completely right now. And it's just, this team is just so good. I mean, it's so young, so talented. I mean, listen, you have J-Dub doing his thing. Chet, second in Rookie of the Year voting was for Freak Wembanyama. And then you have Josh Giddey and Lou Dort, who these were the two guys who, they were going to let them shoot the 3. They were going to let him shoot it, and if it falls, it falls. Lou Dort's been hitting the 3 at a consistent clip. Josh Giddey last night, 4 of his 5 shots on the entire night were 3-point shots, 4 from 6 from 3. And when you have a guy like Josh Giddey who's shooting the 3 like that, and now you have to respect his 3-point shot, you've heard about it all year long. If he can get consistent with that shot, it is going to make this team very scary. And now that he's knocking them down, it just adds a whole nother aspect to this team. So, and for Lu Dort, both of them making these threes has to make everybody respect their shot. So yeah, I mean, this team is just excelling at the right time. I mean, they're excelling together. They are playing together. They're a cohesive unit right now. And then you have SGA to lead the way. One of my favorite players in the league to watch. So definitely with my Lakers getting knocked out, I'm going to be supporting the younger team here. I'm going to be supporting OKC. I'd like to see this young team make a very deep run and compete. Maybe a possible finals appearance. Who knows? Things can get interesting, but I'm definitely supporting this team going forward. Obviously, yeah, I mean, I was going to discuss a little bit about the offseason moves for New Orleans, but I kind of already did. The Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks obviously had a Paul George last night with a 33-point performance without Kawhi Leonard or James Harden. Again, another guy who has been performing. He's definitely been consistently performing. I mean, 33, 6, and 7 yesterday. Norman Powell, 58% from 3 on the series, averaging 11 points per game. I mean, listen, this was a series that we knew was going to be tough, a scrappy series. Both teams are very good defensively. Luka Doncic and Kyrie, Paul George, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, Kawhi has not been available for most of the series, but I mean, PG, when they needed him to make an answer to not go down 3-1, he answered on the road, right? Now they're coming back home to LA to play tomorrow. They're playing tomorrow. But, I mean, listen, Kyrie Irving, 40 points yesterday as well. Yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't even remember when they played. I'm a little bit off right now. But Kyrie Irving, 40 points in Game 4. Obviously, they could not come back. Almost completed a 30-point comeback, which was absolutely crazy, especially if you had Dallas money line or Dallas out the spread. Things definitely got interesting later in the game. But I mean, Luka, 29, 10, and 10. Luka versus the Clippers this series. I mean, 38.6% from the field, 26% from 3 on 12.3 3 points attempted, right? Obviously averaging 29, 10, and 8.5 rebounds. I mean, listen, Luka said it himself. Luka said he needs to give Kyrie some help. Luka said Kyrie has been helping him out and pulling him out of a lot of tough situations, and he needs to step up and do his part being Luka Doncic, right? He knows this is not his typical playoff level, right? We know he's a great playoff performer, and it's crazy to say a guy who's averaging 29, 10, and 10 damn near, and he's struggling, right? Because he is struggling, a high volume player, right? He's a high volume player, he takes a lot of shots. That's just a lot. That's his game. That's what he's going to do, and so when a guy that's that ball dominant is not knocking down shots at a decent efficiency, obviously it's going to hurt the team. But the fact that Luka Doncic has played this poorly, still averaging 29 points per game, and you're losing these games by buckets. Like, there's been no blowouts. There's been except for game 1. Game 1 is the only one that was a bit of a blowout. But all these games have been very, very close. So if you're telling me Luka Doncic can shoot at a 40-35 clip and they're winning games. This team looks very scary, right? Paul George, again, he had one great game, which was obviously Game 4. James Harden, shout out to James Harden, right? Because he's been consistently performing, and, he has been one of those guys. He has been questioned about his desire to win, performing in the playoffs when it matters most, and no Kawhi Leonard basically the entire series, and he's performing. He's came to play. He's been consistently playing at a very high efficiency clip. He's not taking too many shots. He's not taking too little shots. He's playmaking, Zubac's been dominating the center's game, compared to Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, right? But I mean, look at this series has been very interesting, very fun to watch. I still am leaning Dallas in this series just for the sheer will that Kawhi Leonard is not in the series, because I think that's going to hurt them, because again, although James Harden isn't playing very great, right? I don't know if you can rely on him for 7 games, right? I think he might have one stinker that could really just hurt you, right? I mean, and it's not his fault, right? 6 out of 7 games at a very consistent, high efficiency rate, is a great series for anyone's standards. But I'm just saying, especially when you have Paul George, who hasn't been great. He hasn't been phenomenal. He had that one game in Game 4 that really obviously stood out, and he put the nail in the coffin for the Clippers. But we definitely need to see Paul George get going if they want to have a chance, especially without Kawhi Leonard. But again, I mean, big shout out to Kyrie Irving. He's playing like a phenomenal player. I mean, 28.8 points per game, 51% from the field, 48.5% from 3. And I mean, listen, they play Game 5 in LA with no Kawhi Leonard again. Again, they are going to be 4.5-point favorites. I mean, they've been favorites every single game this series so far. But yeah, things can get very interesting. Obviously, you're going back to LA, if you go down out of LA, obviously you go back to Dallas. Game 7 is going to be in LA regardless. I could easily see this series going 7. Yeah, I mean, there's been great basketball so far. 2 great head coaches, Jason Kidd, Tyronn Lue, both been doing their thing, So I'm definitely expecting a bang out, just like it's been. Great basketball, great defensive-minded teams coming out here to perform, and they've been doing just that. Obviously, the West is just so damn deep that one of these teams is going to be getting eliminated in the first round. It just shows how tough the West is right now. It really does, because you could be having, like, for James Harden's sake, you could be having a great series like this, and they go out in the first round, to a team that's ceiling is making, the NBA Finals, so it's unfortunate. I mean, again, 2 great teams going off this early, but I mean, pretty much for the most part, every series has been a competitive series, other than Phoenix and Minnesota, and OKC and New Orleans, obviously. But I still am sticking with my pick. I got the Dallas Mavericks in 7. All right, now in 7. I still haven't changed the team I chose for. Obviously, I'm sticking Dallas here, but Dallas in 7. I think that's how it's gonna right now, how it's playing out. Unless we get 2 masterclasses from Luka. If you get 2 masterclasses from Luka in these next 2 out of 3 games, it's over. Wherever they happen, or whether it happens 5 and 6, 6 and 7, whatever. Right? If you get 2 Luka masterclasses, this game can give this series is gonna be over. Right? They just need more firepower. They need more consistency from Paul. Minnesota sweeps. Obviously, I didn't expect a sweep, right? I definitely thought Phoenix was going to win a game or 2, especially at home, right? I picked Minnesota to win this game. And listen, this team is just so good. I mean, Anthony Edwards has been turning into a all-star, a superstar in this playoffs. He's officially the number 1 option on his team. I mean, 40-point closeout game versus Phoenix. Cat, again, a guy who is so damn good as long as he stays out of foul trouble. I mean, I swear, the first 3 games, he's in foul trouble early, which limiting his minutes, making these games a bit tighter than they have to be. And as soon as Cat comes back in the game, they just start to come out here and start to dominate, right? But if Cat stays out of foul trouble, this team could be very scary. And then you have Rudy Gobert doing his thing, anchoring the defense, doing his job defensively. Jaden McDaniels, again, another guy who, if you can get 1 or 2 games where he's going for 28 points, again, you're very confident about how you're feeling about this series. Naz Reid, again, a guy who can light it up off the bench. This team is very deep. They've got great players. And this team could be very scary. I mean, everyone can defend for the most part. Great defenders. Jay McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert. It allows Cat to kind of just play whoever's sitting in the corner. It's great to see this team finally make it out the first round. Obviously, with the lack of success for the city of Minnesota, for the franchise of the Timberwolves, and for Anthony Edwards and them getting eliminated in the first round the last couple years, right? But again, I mean, listen, Phoenix, Booker, 49 points in a Game 4 loss. KD with 33. Bradley Beal, Bradley Beal was not good. Was not good. He was, I wouldn't even say he's okay. If you watched him play, he definitely wasn't good. Definitely wasn't what this team needed. You had one good shooting game from him where it went for 28 and they still lost by double digits. So that's obviously concerning, But listen, I mean, this team just had no depth. I mean, this Phoenix team, you had questions about them going into the playoffs. The fourth quarter offense was very bad. And again, the fourth quarter offense was terrible in the series. You couldn't, Minnesota was coming out here punching, was coming out here scoring and playing defensively, and you just couldn't keep up with them when it got to the fourth quarter, And when you have a guy like KD and Devin Booker playing like the way they play, Devin Booker again didn't have a great series the first 2 games, but the last 3 games, game 4, he showed up. And obviously game 4 with 49 points and a loss, that was gotta sting, right? But one of the biggest things I want to talk about is obviously Bradley Beal. I caught him, laughing at the presser, talking about he was, how I forget the words he used specifically, but he was just talking about getting swept, and just laughed about it a little bit, and to me, I just took it the wrong way, right? Because as a competitor, as anybody who wants to win, I wouldn't be acting like that, right? I mean, KD, even though we question his desire to win, he doesn't act like that if they end up losing. He acts like a professional. It looks to us like it bothers him when he loses, right? Devin Booker, a guy who it looks like it bothers him when he loses. Kobe Bryant, a guy who's known for his Mamba mentality, it bothers him when he loses, his desire to win is higher than the desire to lose, right? And when you have a guy like Bradley Beal who's making arguably, I think, the most money on that Phoenix team, right? $50 million something dollars, the contract the Washington Wizards offered him, right? And now you traded a lot of draft capital and players to go get these pieces, and now you got Bradley Beal in here to be your big 3, your number 3 guy on your team, and him not performing and acting like that in the presser kind of bothered me the wrong way. Obviously, he's probably going to be gone this offseason. Like, I don't see a way, especially with the cap situation, I don't see a way how they keep him around, trade him somewhere, go get some picks, go get some role players, some pieces. Yeah, but definitely, I mean, this Phoenix team definitely missed a point guard, a true point guard, Devin Booker, I know he's been developing his playmaking abilities, but at the end of the day, he still is a shooting guard, he is a scorer at heart, and you just need a playmaker. You need a guy who's going to control the tempo of the game, who's going to set up the guys, get them to their spots, get them good looks, open looks, and control the offense, and you didn't have a guy that did that for Phoenix. Bradley Beal that's not his role. Devin Booker, that's not his role. KD, that's not his role. You got 3 bucket getters and tried to make them figure it out how to work, and it just did not work because you didn't have nobody playmaking for somebody else. You didn't have nobody, out here trying to control the offense, right? And you would like to see maybe someone step up and try to do it and maybe hurt their numbers, but all 3 of these guys are just their number 1 role and what they've been known to do in the league is go get buckets, and that's exactly what they try to do. But when you can play make for other people, it just sucks. It's unfortunate, and a big shout out to Minnesota, who shut down Grayson Allen basically this entire series. A guy who was shooting a 40% clip from 3 in the regular season and was really just, winning games for Phoenix. He was their best role player by far. He was consistent. He played defense, but Minnesota completely took him out the game, which is, again, great teams do great jobs like that to win series, and that's exactly what they did. Orlando Magic versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, 3-2 Cleveland at this current moment. Banchero, 39 points in a Game 5 loss. 0 road wins so far in this series, right? This series has been actually dreadful to watch. That Game 5 was okay due to the fact you have Paulo going for 39. But, listen, Spida has not been performing. 22.9% from 3. Darius Garland has been efficiency-wise okay, but, he hasn't been, dominating this offensively. Both of these teams ranked bottom 15 in the playoffs, right? Cleveland 15th best offensive efficiency. Orlando bottom 4th right there next to them at 14th. These teams offensively have not been able to put it together. Defensive rating is up very, very high for both of these teams. Obviously, I think it benefits that both of these offenses can't score at all. This has just been a very, very disappointing series to watch. I'm still sticking with my vote, Cleveland, because if you're telling me none of these teams could win on the road and, Cleveland's undefeated at home, 3-0 at home, I'm definitely taking them in a Game 7 situation. Obviously, if you get another 39-point game from Paulo on the road, things can be very interesting. You would like to see Franz Wagner hit that 3-point shot because that's definitely where it's been hurting him as a player this series. His effect, his inability to shoot the 3, because they're letting him shoot it. They're letting him shoot that 3, and he's just not hitting them. You're not making them pay. And when they're forcing you to shoot those threes, you become a bit of a Ben Simmons liability. We all know how it is when a guy who can't shoot and they're letting you shoot and you're forced to take those 3-point shots because they're, not letting anybody else touch the ball. So obviously you need to see him step up and take over, take the, kind of hit those shots, make them pay, I do expect Orlando to win at home because, again, they've already won 2 at home, and no series gets started until one team wins on the road. So Cleveland has a chance to close it out. Regardless, even if it goes to Game 7, again, like I said, I'm taking Cleveland in this one, Cleveland in 7. It's been a very hard series to watch. Offensively, nobody really hitting any shots. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched this series, you really haven't been missing much. Probably hands down the worst series I've watched. Because obviously Minnesota and Phoenix, you got KD and Devin Booker, and on the other side. So it is what it is. Cleveland's still gonna win this series. Then we got Indiana versus Milwaukee. Obviously, Indiana took a 3-1 lead. Milwaukee loses in double overtime. Right, single overtime, double OT. But either way, they lose to Indianapolis without Giannis or Dame. No Giannis again tonight. So, we'll see how this goes. I'm not sure if Dame Lillard is going to play. If I had to pick, I would probably say not. So they're definitely going to have to win another one without Dame and Giannis both. But I mean, listen, Indianapolis has been playing. Indy has been playing great basketball. I mean, listen, Miles Turner has been playing respectable basketball, has been doing his job, shooting the three, doing his job defensively. You have Pascal Siakam, who's been absolutely, their best player in the series, 54% from the field. 23, 9-4 on the series. Obviously, 46% from the free throw line, which is not very good. You're leaving a lot of easy points on the board. So you definitely want to start knocking those down. Because all the points matter at this situation. You don't want to get in a situation where Dame comes back, you lose a game, and then you're sitting here going to Game 7. So all the points matter at this current moment. But, without Dame and Giannis, listen, Milwaukee, they've had pieces step up. They're just, again, missing their 2 superstars. Listen, Bobby Portis has been showing up. Chris Middleton has been showing up. Pat Bev last night. Huge Pat Bev masterclass, all right? Belt to ass, you know what I'm saying? They're in there. Malik Beasley stepped up, hit 4 threes last night. But listen, they stayed alive without Giannis and Dame. So if Dame comes back tonight, could, maybe do we get a good version of Dame? Is he going to be hitting shots? Is he going to be inconsistent? Who knows? But, you definitely like to see Dame back in there. But, Indy with the 3rd best offensive rating, 15th best defensive rating. Milwaukee, 7th best offensive rating, 15th defensive rating. Listen, this is all offense, no defense this entire series. That's been the name of the game for Indiana, all offense, no defense. Milwaukee, too, for a long point of time. And you thought, you finally got the defensive play respectable, and now it just all went out the window. You've been one of the worst defensive teams in the playoffs so far. Without Giannis, obviously that doesn't help. You know what I'm saying? So you definitely like to see Giannis come back if for whatever reason you can make it out the series. But yeah, a lot of questions need to be answered here. Milwaukee needs to stay alive, force a Game 7. You're going back to Indiana, so you've got to win on the road. A very tough spot you put yourself in. But Indiana, bro, listen, Tyrese Halliburton needs to have a takeover series. I have been waiting for him to take over this series. He's had so much struggles in the regular season, since the All-Star break. They had struggles. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. He didn't play very good, very aggressive the first couple games. Yesterday, 4 threes, he had a better game, but I would still like to see him be a bit more aggressive, right? I know Pascal Siakam has been their best player in this series, and I know Tyrese Halliburton can play make, right? We know he's a phenomenal playmaker, but I said this before, you got to go out there, be aggressive, get buckets if you want to win this series and close out this series. You're playing at home. You don't want to go to Game 7 in Milwaukee. Anything can happen on the road in Game 7. Nobody wants to get in that situation. So you've got to close it out tonight. Keep yourself safe, right? You got to go out there, got to be aggressive. And Tyrese Halliburton needs to have a takeover type series. And then we get to Boston versus Miami. I mean, listen, it's all good energy for the vibes, right? I mean, Boston, Miami, the rivalry, Miami was able to win a game, no KP, so Bam Adebayo looked pretty damn good in that last game. Maybe that means something. You're going back to Boston for game 5, right? Boston's currently up 3-1. No KP. Miami's bottom 5 offense, so, I mean, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, you have a chance to close it out here. Give yourself some extra rest days. But, I mean, Miami's just no match. I mean, listen, there was no hope for them going into the playoffs, right? Going through the play-in, especially with Jimmy Butler. Now, without Jimmy Butler, there's no way you're going to go out here and come back 3-1 in a series like this. I mean, Boston is just too damn good right now. And now there's got to be a lot of questions answered about Miami for the future. A lot of things that need to be made, a lot of offseason moves that are coming. They're looming. I mean, you play tonight. Your season can be over just like that. It's very Tyler Hero reliant right now. I mean, you don't have Tyler Rozier, You're seeing some good things from Jaime Jaquez, which is, again, good to see. But you definitely just need a lot more help than Tyler Hero and Jaime Jaquez. Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Again, Boston's going to run through this series. I don't expect them to lose tonight. I think it's going to be done in 5. But yeah, Miami's got a lot of questions to answer this offseason. I'm not going to get into them too much until they officially get eliminated, because it would be dumb to talk about offseason moves and then next thing you know, they come back 3-1, Obviously, again, likelihood of that happening is not very high, but again, I mean, great to see for Boston to handle business against Miami, a team who in recent history, you've struggled against. The NFL draft has finished up. I mean, it finished up last weekend. So obviously we're going to get in here. We're going to discuss it, right? So I'm not going to go through here and give you a post-draft power rankings just yet. I'm going to be waiting to do that so I can look at more of the later round picks and see who really got the best of them. So a couple players I would like to go watch some more film on before I do something like that. So with that being said, right? First things first, Caleb Williams goes number 1 overall. Chicago Bears, you got yourself a quarterback of the future, right? And I just want everybody to know, because I know you've heard it before, but the standards of being a Chicago Bears quarterback is so low of the history of the Chicago Bears that he can go out here and average 220 yards per game for the entire season and be the best quarterback passer in Chicago Bears history. Which says a lot. Which tells me that Caleb Williams could be mediocre. I wouldn't say mediocre, right? Because they need greatness from a number 1 pick, but a B+ quarterback, and Chicago Bears fans would love it because that would get you to the playoffs. That would get you some wins. Things like that. But obviously Caleb Williams sets himself the standard. He said it after he was drafted. He said, I'm chasing Tom Brady. I'm chasing greatness. I'm chasing 12. I'm chasing rings. I'm chasing victory, success, longevity, being on the same team and winning, which it puts a lot of pressure on yourself when you say a statement like that. But I mean, it just shows to me you're coming in with the confidence. You know the direction you're trying to go in. You know what you want to do. Your eyes focus on the prize, right? So I get the side that Caleb Williams is coming from. I'm setting the tone. I'm letting everybody know my expectations right now, right? Because when Lamar Jackson did it, everyone called him crazy. Everyone called him crazy. He said he shouldn't have said anything. This guy's a backup to Joe Flacco. And now look at him now. 2-time MVP, was 1 game away from the from the AFC Championship game. Oh, no, he was in the AFC Championship game when they sold. Never mind, I lied. But he was in the AFC Championship game. One bad game, the AFC Championship game, which could allow him to go to the Super Bowl and possibly run San Francisco. So again, but I mean, I was a guy that did it, and it worked out pretty well for him. Sure, he hasn't had as much playoff success as we would like to see, but he won a game this year, lost in the AFC Championship game, which if there's any way you're going to go down, it's going to go down like that to Patrick Mahomes, right? And then number 2, you got Jay McDaniels for the Washington Commanders. Got to speak about it. I mean, again, easy pick, no-brainer here. Number 3, Drake May goes to New England. Again, some talks about those 2 people could be switched, but New England did not trade back down. They got their quarterback of the future. They also drafted Jalen Polk from Washington later in the draft in the early 2nd round. So they're definitely trying to build this team the right way. But the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm going to just discuss a couple notable teams that I wanted to discuss about what they did, right? Los Angeles Chargers, they drafted Joe Alt. They got Justin Herbert, the best offensive tackle in this draft, right? Joe Alt from Notre Dame. You also got Lade McKinney from Georgia, who, if you haven't watched this film, go watch it, right? He's a Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua type guy. Is actually a great route runner. I think he's going to be a great receiver in this league. He just seems like a very technically sound wide receiver, and you see guys like that who are technically sound succeed in the NFL. A Cooper Kupp, a Puka Nacua, these guys who come in here and are technically sound and locked in. Hunter Renfrow, he was a Pro Bowl type receiver at one point before Josh McDaniels ruined his career, right? So, those are two great pickups for them. You needed to get another receiver. You got a guy in the early second round who you didn't reach for a superstar, one of those big name guys. And you got yourself some protection to protect Josh Herbert. So that's a good move, right? And then we're going to get into Marvin Harrison to the Arizona Cardinals, and I love this move for Kyler Murray, for Marvin Harrison. I mean, you needed a young wide receiver one, the best receiver in this draft, hands down. Everybody knows who Marvin Harrison is, right? There was some talks on draft night that Indianapolis was going to possibly trade up because of the family ties to Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, it did not happen. But listen, this is great for Kyler Murray. I know there's a lot of questions about Kyler Murray, about his dedication to win, but I think Kyler Murray is a top 8 quarterback at best. And I think he can get there. He's had seasons where he's had some of the best offenses in the NFL. He's had a season where he went 7-0. You didn't win a game after that, but you started 7-0. The success was there. Cliff Kingsbury did a great job offensively, and what this new head coach in Arizona did last year without Kyler Murray, with Joshua Dobbs competing in a lot of these games, and you added Kyler Murray back, you got a couple big wins, and now you got him some help. I couldn't be happier. I think Kyler Murray's going to have a great year. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a great year. And with that head coach and the direction he's going in, I like what they did. And then we're going to talk about J.J. McCarthy, another quarterback, to Minnesota. A lot of people were talking about how they were going to have to trade up to pick 5 to go get him, to go get J.J. McCarthy. That was not the case. J.J. McCarthy dropped to the 10th spot. Minnesota traded up 1 spot to go get him. They secured their guy of the future. How much do I like J.J. McCarthy? Again, I'm not a big fan on J.J. McCarthy. I just don't think he is all that, right? I think he's a bit of a reach, right? I wouldn't draft him. I didn't want him, right? A lot of people didn't want him, but we'll see. He can definitely prove himself. He's in a great offensive situation. He has a great offensive-minded head coach, a great young head coach who almost made the playoffs last year with no quarterback, right? You have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have T.J. Hawkinson. You're building this defense. You have Mekhi Blackman. You just built on the defense this draft, right? You're getting the right pieces. So I'm liking the way they're going. They were very active in this draft. Yeah, so good shit for, excuse me, some language. Try not to cuss on here no more. But, great draft for Minnesota. Then you have Penix to Atlanta, which is the one that shocked everybody. This is the one that got everybody thinking, because you've all by now have seen it. I mean, obviously, Kirk Cousins was unaware that they were going to draft a quarterback this early in the first round with the 8th overall pick. Okay, Michael Penix, a guy that was supposed to be seen going to the middle of the first round to Vegas at 13, right? That's where he was seen to go. Obviously, we knew Atlanta loved him, but they just signed Kirk Cousins all this money. You know what I'm saying? 3 years, $45 million. You invested all this money into Kirk Cousins just for you to get another guy. And the craziest thing about this whole thing is not only did they mess it up for us, for me specifically, for the Las Vegas Raiders specifically, is they invested into a guy in Kirk Cousins who's supposed to get you wins, help this team make the playoffs, win the division, and now you brought a guy in to sit for 3 to 4 years. That is just insane to say. How, if I'm Michael Penix, I'm a bit hurt here. Because you're 24, you've been in college for a decent long time. If you're sitting 3 or 4 years, you're going to be 27, 28 before you touch the field as a starter. And who knows, maybe Kirk Cousins looks absolutely terrible in regular season or the start of the season, and they want to go Michael Penix right away. Who knows? I'm not sure. But, this was definitely a questionable call. I mean, listen, the way I think about it, maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't look so good. Maybe they're investing in Michael Penix, and maybe Kirk Cousins wants to come to the Raiders, and we get ourselves a quarterback, and then we're right back in this. You know what I'm saying? We're here. But No, definitely this is a questionable call. I mean, it messed up everything for us, for the Raiders. We didn't end up taking a quarterback. So yeah, I mean, shout out Atlanta for always messing stuff up. They are definitely prepared for the long term success of this team. But I mean, if you're looking at sitting Michael Penix for 3 to 4 years, that's about the time he's going to be up for eligible for extension, right? So now you got a guy with no game tape, no film, and you're going to be up at the point where you have to offer him an extension. Obviously you can do the 5th-year option route, but most people don't want that 5th-year option route, right? So definitely interesting interesting selection. But talking about my Las Vegas Raiders, obviously, I mean, all the quarterbacks were taken before they got to us. All of them, all 6 of them. Bo Nix got there, fell to Denver where he was mocked, right? No QB for the Raiders, but we didn't panic. We took the best player on the board, the guy who was supposed to go top 8. He's a top 5 player in this draft, but based on needs and him being a tight end, Brock Bowers, a guy who him being a tight end kind of didn't make him the best player of the draft, So we got a great tight end. And I know a lot of people are questioning, we just drafted Michael Mayer. Why would we go Brock Bowers here? Not only is Brock Bowers supposed to be generational, he's supposed to be one of the greatest tight end prospects ever. But listen, what did New England do for so long to succeed, right? You had a solid running game. You had a quarterback who, for the most of his career, was a game manager or seen as a game manager. Dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk. Let his receivers make plays. So now you're putting Gardner Minshew in a situation where you could run 2 tight ends. You have a generational tight end, Michael Mayer, who I think can still blossom. I think he's a great talent. You have 2 blocking tight ends, 2 tight ends who can catch the ball, right? And now this helps for Zamir White. You not only built your offensive line, you added some pieces to your offensive line. You're here, So I'm looking for a very run-heavy team, a team that could run 2 tight ends, a team that's going to be getting Devontae Adams involved, Jacoby Myers involved, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers. I really like the options we have on this team, the weapons we have here. Jacoby Myers, I think, is one of the best number 2 receivers in the NFL. I know a lot of people are going to think that's a hot take, but he has one of the best win rates in the NFL, one of the best catch rates in the NFL. I believe he had the most goal line, red zone, touchdown percentage rate or something like that. But he is just a great receiver. Devontae Adams has said it. If you watch the film, watch him play. We struggled with quarterback play last year. Gardner Minshew, again, a guy who was 1 drop pass away from taking the Houston Texans out of the playoffs. You were 1 drop pass away from not seeing CJ Stroud play the Cleveland Browns. This could be a completely different CJ Stroud situation if they catch that 1 pass. So Gardner Minshew, again, 1 drop pass away from playoffs. I can live with that. In a situation, in a division that's tough, obviously, we're going against Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. We split with the Chargers every year regardless. We've owned the Denver Broncos for the past 4 years, right? Last year we split with Kansas City. We just improved on our defense. Jack Jones played phenomenal since he came to us. Nate Hobbs, one of the best nickel corners in football, right? Trayvon Moore had a better year last year. You got a cornerback out of South Carolina in the 4th round. You built the offensive line. You got another offensive weapon. Zamir White, again, in the 3-4 games we've seen from him last year with Josh Jacobs sitting out, he was excellent. Okay, I'm excited to see him come in, right? And what we did defensively, we were a top 5 defense last year when AP took over. Top 5 defense. And now we just got better on both sides of the ball. And our quarterback, sure, has not gotten better or worse, right? But we have gotten better on both sides of the ball, so I'm liking what we got so far. And if it gets so bad, those quarterbacks next year, Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, and there will be guys next year. Right? Dak Prescott's going to be hitting the free agency market. Obviously, I don't want Dak Prescott, but there will be options coming up, right? There will be people on the market. There will be other options. Maybe Kirk Cousins is working on Atlanta. We'd love to take him. So definitely something, to keep an eye on. I'm liking what's going on. Bo Nix goes to Denver again. I mean, listen, I already said it, but Bo Nix, they fell to 13. To 12, and that's exactly where they were mocked to get him. Right before us, and they did. Buffalo goes out there in the early 2nd round. They were very active, trading picks at getting as much draft capital as possible. They got Keon Coleman in the early 2nd round. Great pick for them. They had to fill that receiver position. Keon Coleman, again, I think a very underrated guy, especially play with Jordan Travis. That whole Florida State team, very underrated. So liking what they're doing for them. San Francisco, listen, Ricky Purcell out of Florida, right? You got him in that first round, pick 31, okay? And this clearly means Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk will not be a San Francisco 49ers suit up for the season, right? Brandon Ayuk wants to get paid. He doesn't want a franchise tag. He wants to get paid. He wants to get paid. He wants to get paid. You paid Deebo Samuel, right? And I think you should have paid Brandon Ayuk. You should focus on paying Brandon Ayuk over Deebo Samuel. So you have to lose one or the other. I would lose Deebo Samuel because Brandon Ayuk is a better receiver than him, right? Deebo Samuel is an athlete you can give the ball to, but Kyle Shanahan's so great schematically, and he has Christian McCaffrey, right? That you have George Kittle, you have great weapons around you that I don't think Deebo Samuel is a must for your team to succeed. I think having Christian McCaffrey, having Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Trent Williams, you have a great team. I think Deebo Samuel is one of the least valuable to your team. Like, I don't think he's going to hurt your team. And I know the statistics that say Deebo Samuel, with the San Francisco 49ers with Deebo Samuel are a better win percentage team. But I think if you got him out of here, he would not, it doesn't meet the eye test, right? Like, I think Brandon Ayuk has become such a better receiver that he can fill that void. And with Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and everybody else, other guys get some more touches. And I like the team better without Deebo Samuel. If I had to get rid of one, right? Obviously, the ideal goal is to get both, but you can't. It's not going to happen. But, the two biggest winners in the first two rounds, to me, is, listen, Philadelphia, they're already paying James Bradbury, who I know he's been very bad, but, he's had some great years. So if you can get him on, playing solid football, that's good. Darius Slay, if you can get him playing solid football, he was solid last year, wasn't great, wasn't terrible, but if you can get him playing solid football, nice. You got Cooper DeJean, who was projected to go in the first round in a lot of mock drafts. He was a first round talent, but it's because the offensive talent was so heavy in this draft that he just fell to the second. They went out there, they traded up to get Cooper DeJean. You got Quinion Mitchell from Toledo, who I think is the best cornerback in this draft, right? So you traded up, you moved around to get these two cornerbacks. You just paid Devontae Smith. We knew you had to go out here and get your defense, and you did that. And these guys, listen, even if one of these guys becomes a Pro Bowl type cornerback, it's going to be great for them. You only need to hit on one. Realistically, obviously, you'd like to hit on both. I think Cooper DeJean, again, a great talent, very athletic. One of the first white corners to be in this league, so I'm rooting for him. Let's go, Cooper. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm here. I'm with it. And then you got Quinion Mitchell, who, again, 4.3 speed, one of the best cornerbacks in football. He had offers to go with the NIL and everything else. He, to go everywhere. The people were going to pay him to leave Toledo, but he didn't want to leave. He didn't leave the grind. And I respect people who don't want to leave the grind. So I think they got two of the best cornerbacks in this draft. And I think that's going to make them a huge, serious threat this upcoming year. And then Detroit, getting Terrion Arnold. You traded up to get Terrion Arnold. Again, some see him as the best cornerback in this draft. Some see him as third, fourth. This cornerback draft is very top heavy. So like the first five guys, you can go either way depending on what you see in as a elite cornerback. But again, so great pickup. You needed to add to your secondary, so you did just that. And I'm very excited for Detroit. You needed to add to that secondary. Wasn't very good, and to add a piece like this is great to see. Typically, Alabama cornerbacks come in and succeed. Very successful in the NFL. I can go through the list off the top of my head, but, the Alabama DBs are very successful in the NFL, so I think you really hit on a good pick. But with that being said, that was my biggest key draft picks for those certain teams. I thought those were the ones that stood out to me most. I will be working on a post NFL draft, like power rankings, QB tier rankings, stuff like that going into my next video. So stay tuned for that. Be prepared for that. I'm definitely going to be working on things like that and working on some graphics for my next video. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Appreciate everyone for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications. I'll be uploading twice a week. Go check out my second channel. Link will be in the description below. Twice a week on that channel as well. If you're watching this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to like the show, follow the show, give it a 5-star rating. I'll greatly appreciate it. With that being said, hope you're having a great day and go enjoy some playoff basketball today. The end of the first round is closing up. I hope y'all having a great day and see you.